Right. Greetings. We're now going live. Welcome to Dorsey's Resource. First, as usual, before we get started, I'd like to give a disclaimer. This video is going to be for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand this video is not to be construed as legal advice. It's up to everyone to do his or her own homework and research regarding the matter being discussed if they feel otherwise. Dorsey's Resource Channel is not responsible for anyone's misuse of the information being presented or any previous videos of that liking. It's up to everyone to understand they are responsible for their own commercial affairs. Dorsey's Resource is not liable. Once again, all rights are reserved. Now, let's get into this. I just wanted to do a video to let you guys know. Thank you all once again. By the way, before I forget, for those who continue to stay loyal to the channel, those who followed instructions and have headed over to my backup channel, even though I haven't posted over there in a while. And it's a reason. I'm going to go into details just to let you all know what's been going on lately. I'm going to give you some of my thoughts and feedback from some upcoming events. I have been still around, but at a distance. I've been doing a lot of research. I've been doing a lot of studying. And for those of you all that know, I study because I have some of you all where I've done videos related to redemption education or sovereignty. I don't use that term, sovereign citizen and, stuff like that. I just, I might do another video down the road as I've done in the past to prove that that is real, but it would take a lot of notes. And I was looking at different software, by the way, that I would use because I always want to show you all more evidence. You all know I used to have Zoom in the past. I no longer have the pay version. I'm considering purchasing it again so I can, it's easier for me to share my screen and you guys can see my face at the same time. I do have a software where I can share my screen. However, what I like about the Zoom is I'm able to share my face because Windows compared to what is it, Apple, they have other ways like for the Apple laptops. From what I understand, I don't really know how to use Apple. I hear it's easy. When I was connected to the music industry some years ago, the guys I was working with always told me they preferred, a lot of people in the entertainment business, they like using Apple at the time. I guess some of the softwares and stuff, you don't have to worry about viruses and stuff like you do Windows and updates. But I've heard certain things are changing, so I can't say I'm abreast in that regard. I try to keep up as much as I can in certain regards, but in certain instances, I'm not as tech savvy, and I have friends for that. And I am willing to seek out paid assistance or help. But I just once again wanted to let you all know what had been going on. Well, I hadn't posted in a while, by the way. And once again, I do appreciate you all that have continued to rock with me, that have continued to stay loyal to the channel, that have overstand the journey that I have been on. And it came a point in time too where it was time for me to step aside when it came to the sovereign information, because there's been a leapfrog of the information. A lot of people are out here teaching now the correct information. By the way, I would say that the information is much, much better than what it used to be when I got involved in learning about sovereignty many years ago. There's a lot better technology compared to years past. Like, for example, when it comes to discharge, remember years ago, you had to type up a bond, or from a computer, you have to put the registered mail number. Now, there is some work that's involved. It's different nowadays where there's many different ways people are teaching and sharing information and relaying information. I remember at one time when this information was through word of mouth, where you had to know someone in the city I was in. I had to find out where they were having the classes. And a lot of times they would move to different locations. Sometimes they would originally they were at a hall or activist building, a church, from what I remember, even a nightclub at one time, office buildings, and it kind of moved around a lot, and it was like on a volunteer type basis in a way, and that was an interesting experience, and It gave me a foundation, but I still had a lot of growing to do. By the way, in case you hear, that's the radio in the background. I am at a school. By the way, that's the school people. In case you're wondering, if you hear the radio in the background, I'm gonna turn it down a bit. But I just wanted to let you all know I'm still here. I want to give you my thoughts and feedbacks on some future events. I also wanted to let you all know I planned on probably doing a video on my other channel. I haven't really grown that channel because I've let you all know, in case you're wondering, there's some people that don't keep up with the updates. And in case you're joining me or have not uh, heard about the updates. That's why you guys hear me mention this. So if it sounds like I'm repeating myself, keep in mind there's always like newbies or people that may have been subscribed to me, but they didn't get the notifications because they're subscribed to a lot of other people, and they just might happen to see the notification pop up in the feed and check out my channel, or based on their work schedule, they just now might be learning about the information. But just in case you're unaware, this channel right here, I'm no longer able to log into my back office anymore. Just so you all know, once again, I made this announcement numerous times. I have another channel that is my newer channel. It's at Dorsey's Resource 873, at Dorsey's Resource 873. So if you haven't done so, make sure you head over there. Even though I haven't put out any content in a while, just be on standby, because based on how things manifest down the road, we'll see. uh I will, I plan on putting content over there. I also have a Rumble account. I haven't been active over there as well, but I have been doing a lot of research on things and different topics behind the scenes. And there's a lot of information nowadays. I understand people bombarded by, and in my discipline, focus, I have one friend that his discipline, his main focus is emergency preparedness. The mainstream media will try to put it in a negative light, similar when they call people sovereign citizens. They'll use these umbrella terms to try to discredit people or make these people look crazy. So they'll call people who are into emergency preparedness, they'll say that they're doomsday preppers. They'll use those type of terms to spook people, but it's what it is. It's the term. It's emergency preparedness. You're getting prepared. I've talked to a lot of people personally and professional backgrounds, former co-workers, and they all told me they didn't trust the government. Every last person I talked to, by the way, they all told me that they had some form of skepticism. And at the end of the day, it's up to one to definitely prepare for the worst, hope for the best, because we don't know exactly what's coming. There's a lot of people out there that can try to predict. Now, some things, there's a lot to unpack. I won't try to go into explaining all that. By the way, for those that understand, like when I brought up Cliff High's Webbot report some time ago, and I talked about the entertainer P. Diddy, which you guys I know have heard about. Some people have said they're tired of hearing about it. It's literally ever since the raid last Monday, not this past Monday, but Monday of last week. It's been literally, it's a Diddy video dropping every day. And I had planned on discussing that too, and things are getting a lot worse now. But a lot of information I actually already knew about, and things are coming to pass. And they said this back in November when Cassie filed the lawsuit. If you had your eyeglasses on and you were paying attention, even the mainstream media reported on this. They said that lawsuit was going to open the floodgates, and that there was going to be other lawsuits following that suit. And that sure enough would happen. And they also said, based on the original allegations, because it still took like a day or the following day for Diddy to settle, because they had been in talks behind the scenes, by the way, his Puffy's lawyers and Cassie. So Cassie called his bluff. And once that lawsuit, the docket hit the internet and everything, you had these content creators, influencers who are huge, much, much bigger than my channel, that do excellent reporting. And I've given shouts out to in the past. This is no clout chasing. I still follow those channels. I think, in my opinion, I like listening to Tisa Tales and Tough News. But I listen to Tisa Tales. She does excellent reporting, updates. I mean, she's been keeping her foot on Diddy's neck. I mean, with all the updates. And a lot of the stuff that's just now hitting, we already knew, and it's actually coming to pass. And she kind of said this, that behind the scenes, but because these are still allegations, we have to be fair, because he has not had his day in court. Uh, Sean Diddy Combs, aka Puff Daddy, maintains his innocence. But keep in mind, these are allegations. But I would say it's very damning information has come out if you have read the lawsuits and you've been following what has happened. And some of you all may say, "Hey, Dorsey, what the heck does this have to do with the reset?" And hey, yeah, and I know some of you are what some of you are saying, and I know some of you all may be wondering why I brought that up in the past when I brought up Cliff High has something called the Webbot report. If you're familiar with Cliff High, the woo-woo guy, he was just a little bit of background about him. He was a former computer programmer for Microsoft, very intelligent guy. He reminds me of Doc from the movie Back to the Future, highly intelligent. He likes getting into a lot of esoteric conversations. He has a podcast where he likes talking about the aliens and UFOs and stuff. I don't really get that deep into that. Now, I do discuss that. I have a friend I discuss that type of information with that's extremely knowledgeable, that will blow a lot of other historians, people away that study eschatology, astrology, forensic science, and things of that sort. Absolutely phenomenal with his knowledge and history and languages too, by the way, and things of that sort. I'll discuss some of those types of things, but I don't talk about that publicly because those things I've always said are hard to prove. And then they can also make you appear a certain way. But that's to give you a background about Cliff High. He developed something called the Webbot report, which is like a form of a supercomputer or type of computer he has that can predict future outcomes based on the information, the data sets that's gathered from real time. And this was from years ago. He put this together. I heard corporations have technology like this and things, and these this particular computer can, even if it can't exactly predict the exact event or moment, it'll have how can I put it? It'll give you an idea when the temporal marker sometimes comes out, if there's what they call a Webbot hit, or if there's a prediction that comes to pass. If it doesn't hit it right on the money, it doesn't always do this. It'll give indication, and we'll say, "Oh, that's what that was." Like when Trump first won, he said that November prior to before Trump, when he first won, when he beat Hillary Clinton back in 2016. It didn't give an exact description. Sometimes it gives a description of the future event that's supposed to take place. And the data set said at the time, just giving you guys an example, it said that everybody's going to wake up shocked this particular morning. And we were wondering, he went over to see, if you're familiar with Snippy's channel, JSnip4. I don't know if JSnip4 is still on YouTube. I know he's on Rumble because he's been censored by YouTube. Of course, along with my channel, this channel in particular, I was going into some of the details earlier. By the way, I woke up, well, I got off work May of last year, by the way, and I received an email that my backup channel, which was my smaller channel compared to this channel, was removed by YouTube. They claimed for cyberbullying and harassment. I challenged it. It was difficult because their customer service or filing a complaint is not user friendly. And I don't have deep pockets where I'm able to hire a lawyer like certain YouTubers, or I have connections, 6 degrees of separation, where I know somebody who works for YouTube personally, and I'm not in a protected class where, YouTube would exempt my videos like they excuse other people when my content was the equivalent of PG-13, nowhere near rated R or rated X like Lil Nas X and some of the other disgusting stuff that they allow. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But, rules for thee, but not for me. Just saying, my content, you put out certain information, they pick and choose who the winners and losers are. Some people disagree with me on that, but I beg to differ. YouTube is controlled by the evil criminal cabal. Google is now owned by Alphabet. Alphabet is their parent company. Look up, if you're not familiar, who Eric Schmidt is. I heard him and Bill Gates actually set up that social credit system in China that they're trying to bring over here, that they're attempting to bring, and they've already implemented to a degree. It's been found in documents, by the way, when Elon took over Twitter. Remember, he released the Twitter files. That was declassified information. I heard they were still upset at him. The FBI even had a profile because he was revealing how the Democratic Party had colluded illegally, criminally with the Biden administration to target conservative bloggers, conservative politicians and channels, and give them credentials and things. This is unheard of, and spying on different people illegally. Remember, Eric Snowden, this is confirmed evidence, under the Obama administration was a major whistleblower. And I saw this reported on, even on our local news station here in Detroit some years ago, Fox 2 News. It was a story they ran with Hugh Perkins, by the way. I was at the car shop getting my car worked on. This was like around a decade ago, over a decade ago. And I remember, because I have a good memory, and I couldn't believe it. They said it was unconstitutional, and this was under Obama. He was still president at the time. They was illegally spying on Americans. And they said this just like this. So I know what I'm talking about. It's very interesting. I hear there's a case that the Supreme Court is looking over that deals with freedom of speech. I've said this time and time again. They have been violating freedom of speech. They've targeted certain YouTubers. They've targeted certain people. They've targeted my channel, others. It's just not fair. It's dirty. And, you know, they have picked, and bullied people for so long. So, if you hear sometimes the frustration in my voice, by the way, that and not just myself that they've done this to, but other YouTubers as well, other influencers, and many have left. And I'm glad there's a lot of people that did behind the scenes. They may not have never commented on my channel, but I did a video that was like in my main feed where I showed alternative or other independent social media platforms to join and get your news and information from. And I did a video not too long ago about this so-called TikTok ban. And keep in mind, that is just the cover. That's actually a draconian authoritarian bill that will allow the government, it will give the government unconstitutional authority to criminally take over the internet in an egregious manner, violate in a very egregious manner, an authoritarian manner. So sites that are independent, it will allow them, if that bill passes, it will allow them to shut down sites that they deem hate speech. And we know hate speech can be construed as speech that they don't agree with. Once again, understand it's rules for thee, but not for me. So it doesn't mean you're necessarily committing hate speech. It could be they don't like something you said, and that's not appropriate. We have strong laws in this country. One of the few countries in the world, we have a strong constitution that has been explicitly clear in the language. If our justices have not been compromised, which I hope they haven't, many other justices, not just the Supreme Court, but if they really abide by the rule of law and go by the law, it explicitly states, and our Bill of Rights is clear what freedom of speech is. And I saw a parent come to a event. There was a video that went viral. I don't know the name of this guy, where he was explaining to the school board what freedom of speech is. But these big tech bullies, I call them, have just been criminally just doing what they want to do. And I think there needs to be some regulation. The Supreme Court needs to put their foot down and make it clear that there's clear violations and people who have lost their jobs and things, just like when a judge in New York ruled when it was unconstitutional during a pandemic to force people to be fired if they refused the vaccination. And remember, a judge ruled they had to pay those people back their pay when those lawsuits went through. I think the same thing, if people lost their jobs over freedom of speech or not saying things that was deemed okay, they deserve their jobs back or back pay, some type of compensation. But understand, in our law, our rule of law, it's explicitly clear what freedom of speech is. And just understand that you have to do your own research. I won't say I'm the best or sharpest when it comes to breaking this information down, but I've studied a lot of other channels. I've even watched what some of the mainstream has said. And Fox, by the way, Fox News or different variations, conservative media has put out some very good videos explaining that, where they've interviewed lawyers and experts. And I watch both sides. I pay attention. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. Technically, I'm not a registered voter. I canceled my voter registration back in 2004, so I don't vote, but I still pay attention. If I was to be involved in politics, I would be considered maybe an independent, a libertarian, or moderate conservative. Just to give you an idea, there are other categories. It's like they force you into a box. And I know people argue that the two heads of the same snake, and I beg to differ to a degree. I think the Democratic Party has been, or the Liberal Party, Liberal Progressive Party has been more compromised. They're being used by the globalists, the ruling class elite, to further push their agenda. Yes, we do have neocons, Republicans, conservatives who are bad people as well, rhinos, Republican in name only. I do get that. But at least they have something called the Freedom Caucus, which is like a third party that is standing up and trying to restore equal balance. And they're not conspiracy theorists. They always like to throw that term out there. And keep in mind, something is not always theory or theoretical. You do have facts. Conspiracy facts are things that take place, by the way. So everything is not theoretical. When you break the words conspiracy theory down, everything is not theoretical. So understand you have to do your research, and that, you know, the mainstream media likes to throw that term out there, by the way, to use that to slander and discredit people when it doesn't fit their narrative or it doesn't go along with their journalistic teleprompters they have to read from. Because keep in mind, they'll lose their jobs. That's why people check the independent media to find out what, you know, everyday people like you or I are thinking, what our thoughts, what our opinions are. Because I'm not paid by George Soros. I'm not paid by MSNBC. I'm not paid by ABC News. So I don't make big money like them. That's why they're happy. They can bullshit around. They can sell out. Many of them are boule or pledged, you know. So they're in a happy state because a lot of times they're paid off, and people a lot of times like that, they lose their humanity, and they're not really in the streets like that. They're not 10 toes deep. They're not in the trenches. So you can't take their word for what they say. You have to keep that in mind when you watch these establishment corporate media, by the way. Corporate media like ABC News, MSNBC. Yeah, I still watch them from time to time. But understand, a lot of those people, they're paid very well. They're not in the trenches like that. Like you or I are people that are boots on the ground, and we see what's really going on, especially those of us that have been censored, that have been affected by the censorship. See, there's a difference, by the way. So keep that in mind, by the way. So one of the things I kind of deviated, why I haven't done videos in a while, like I said earlier, I have been doing a lot of research in my discipline. It's very important. I wish I had, you know, more help. I would say more so. I wish I had an immediate relative or family member that knew about this or understood how detrimental that information is pertaining to sovereignty, is to our survival. Because there's a lot of people that are waking up to that. There's a lot of people that are having success with that are paying off bills. I hear getting cars because these debt collectors and corporations have been stealing from us. And a lot of stuff is being broken down. But the elites also see that a lot of people are waking up as well. And they're also, the cabal is trying to put a thwart in these things and stop this. So I was also going to do a video. I think of various topics. It's difficult the way my mind works sometimes when I try to come up with topics to discuss before you guys, to let you guys know or give you all a heads up as far as what's coming. One of the things I planned on discussing, or like a reoccurring video, it's been a while, something related to the New World Order, to understand why they hate Trump so bad. I think a lot of people don't understand, or why the media or certain elements of the corporate establishment media is ganged up on Trump, for example, whether you hate him or love him, but just the understanding of the New World Order. I was taught about the New World Order, the one world government, the Illuminati, the ruling class elite. It is very real. This is not something that is a joke. This is not a game. This is very real. There are people, because there's some people I know out there that say, oh, Dorsey, you're giving them too much power, by the way. But the thing is, you got to understand, these people have an enormous amount of wealth. They built generational wealth. Not saying that they achieved it fairly, or had, some of them had maybe humble beginnings, but we know that the banking system is very, very corrupt. And that's why I used to tell you guys a lot of times, go check out that movie, Money Masters, Monopoly Men. What else? That documentary, Ring of Power, Empire of the City. These will give you an idea, a basic generalization Many of you all now are already awake to those movies, those films. But the reason I've always mentioned those as reoccurring documentaries to check out, if you still can find them on YouTube, because some of these films have been censored. But Monopoly Men, Money Masters is a good one. Money Masters is long, so you want to take your time with that one, not no rush. But it's going to be an eye opener, and it's going to explain to you in a concise manner. It's going to give you an idea. And then there's other videos out there. There's modern day videos that you can find that shows you some of those same banking families, how they control a lot of stocks and how they manipulate it or use their wealth to control for manipulative purposes and things. So that's what these documentaries will help do. They will help paint a picture for you so you can identify who the real bad guys are. They try to pretend to be the good guys. A lot of times that's why they go in fields as philanthropists, different fields. They initiate their children to go into fields similar, by the way, but it doesn't mean that they always have the general public's best interest at heart, like the climate change scam. It's important to do a lot of research behind what's going on with climate change, because at the end of the day, they want to charge people for the air that we breathe one day. Not saying anytime soon. That's part of their agenda down the road, like the movie Total Recall years ago. For those that are familiar with that, according to their carbon credits, this is tied in with the green movement, part of the climate change agenda. Now Agenda 2030 used to be Agenda 21, now Agenda 2030, and moving ahead in the United Nations Sustainable Development. They want to remove carbon and things from the atmosphere, things that help us breathe. There's an exchange that we have with the trees, the plants, and the atmosphere, and turn this into a hellish world. That's why it's not a coincidence why Bill Gates is buying up a lot of farmland. They want to create artificial scarcity. By the way, this is important. I meant to go over this with a friend of mine yesterday when we were discussing, when I was telling him about Trump and explaining the reason why the globalists don't like him, like Klaus Schwab with the World Economic Forum. Trump basically told him some years ago, I forgot to mention this, he stood up to Klaus Schwab. He said, fuck you, America first. By the way, see, Trump is for nationalism. Nationalism is the sovereignty of your country, your country's independence, your country's freedom. Globalism, understand, globalism is where they will take over your country, take over your country's local, state, and government politicians and implement their policies, have a draconian form of government. Klaus Schwab wants to get rid of freedom of speech. They want to create artificial scarcity. Remember, he said he wants people eating bugs by the year 2030 or something. He says you'll own nothing and be happy. Look at what the corporations are doing, like BlackRock, buying up all these properties, housing. Look at, for those, show I have compassion. I keep up with what's going on for those who need, fair housing and things of that sort, and wealth inequality. That's not Trump. That's Klaus Schwab. That's BlackRock. Larry Fink. You need to pay attention what they're doing. They make Trump to be the big bad boogeyman, but that isn't the case. You guys need to know who the ruling class elite are, the Illuminati. That's the real Illuminati, is the World Economic Forum. You need to look up who they are. You need to research them. Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari, who said we no longer need humans anymore. Out of his own words. These are not my words, folks. So this is not something I'm making up to say hearsay, to poo-poo. This is out of their own words. Read Klaus Schwab. They have books and Fourth Industrial Revolution or something to that effect. And they have a lot of their meetings in Northern Europe, or the Norse part of the world. They're based out of Davos, Switzerland. They're the daylight version of the Bilderberg. My friend called it some years ago. He said basically, he said Davos is David. That's what that means. But you look up on a map, that's where they're headquartered, based out of Davos, Switzerland. And I hear with this so-called eclipse thing event coming up, was it April the 8th, this coming Monday or something like that, that I hear CERN is going to be firing off the Hadron Collider, and that they're involved in some occultic activity where they have a statue of Shiva, which represents destruction, or they're their interpretation of Satan or the devil. They have the statue of Shiva, which it came back to me. I couldn't remember, but I think it's supposed to represent the god of destruction. And they have and they built CERN over some type of temple years ago. Symbolically, they don't do these things by coincidence. And I hear they're going to be firing up the Hadron Collider, and they're going to do something to try to invoke spirits of the underworld or interdimensional beings into this reality. This is not my words. Check out the SGT report. When I check out Rumble, and they were censored by YouTube, SGT report and X22 report, but XGT report did a report with the Christian Clay Clark. I think his name's Clay Clark. He read the information. He went over the documents, by the way, and showed in CERN's own writings. This eclipse stuff is very symbolic to them. You know, they said never, remember Hillary Clinton some years ago said, never let a good crisis go to waste. A lot of these things with the moon, certain dates, I learned this from reading David Icke's books some years ago, Children of the Matrix, Alice in Wonderland with the 9/11 conspiracy, the biggest secret. Those are the 3 books I own. He came out with some other ones and goes over some very powerful information. And David Icke actually has his own channel, by the way, on Alex Jones's network, Band.video. He has his own page on there. Keep in mind, and he's been interviewed numerous times throughout the years. And his latest stuff, go to Band.video or MadMaxWorld.tv and check out David Icke's work. That's how I learned about the child abduction, the child sacrifices, and things, and women who were abducted into these satanic pedophile rings that went all the way up to the president during Reagan's administration years ago, which I hear Bush was actually, Daddy Bush was more in control versus the other Bush during that time period. That's how I learned about who Kathy O'Brien was out of Muskegon, Michigan, and Bryce Taylor. When they told their story, you can look up who they are. Bryce Taylor, look up Kathy O'Brien, look up, what's her name? She's the reason you have the modern day Amber Alert system. Noreen Gosh, when her son Johnny Gosh came up missing years ago, she lobbied or started a foundation for mothers to help find missing and exploited children. If you know the story behind that, her son some years ago briefly came back to her after the Stockholm syndrome. Many years later, she said he showed up in the middle of the night and told her what happened. She thought they, didn't know what happened. He had been missing for years, and explained what had happened to her. And Ted Gunderson, who was a former FBI agent at the time, had a private source that was Johnny Gosh, and he was under a different name. But they had already taken over him and were using him for their purposes. But he had enough sanity to come back and explain to his mother what had happened when he had disappeared so many years. Remember, years ago, they used to show the missing and exploited children on milk cartons. By the way, this stuff is not a coincidence. This so-called QAnon conspiracy, the mainstream media will try to spin it off like that. But actually, you need to look up who David Seaman is. I can debunk the mainstream media when they always try to tell you it's a QAnon conspiracy. Just look at the stuff the mainstream people they reported on. Look at what happened with Jerry Sandusky at Penn State. That was public. Look at the guy Larry Nassar, who was molesting the gymnastics girls. By the way, you guys remember that with the USA gymnastics, and Simone Biles and them testified. By the way, who else? Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Look at what's that Hollywood mogul who was locked up, Harvey Weinstein. Look what he was doing. Look who he was friends with. Look at all these people. Look at the Nexium sex cult. By the way, with the actor Allison Mack, who was involved in that. And I saw actually a local story. They didn't do a video story, but they did a news article story, WXYZ. By the way, I noticed that. So I pay attention. So you had all these different instances. Look at the guy. What's the guy that used to do the Subway commercials? Jared Fogle. He's locked up. You think it's a coincidence? And then now a lot of this stuff is coming out with P. Diddy. I'm just saying, you guys haven't been connecting the dots, but you still want to trust what the corporate mainstream media is telling you, what the corporate media is telling you. So I'm just saying, you want to always stay abreast, Check out the independent media. Be abreast of all sides of what's really going on. You guys really, some of you all I'm speaking to out there really need to do your homework. If you're skeptical, you've been on the fence about this stuff, you need to really do your homework, because this stuff has been documented for events that have taken place, that have been confirmed. Everything is not a conspiracy theory. Remember, the FBI put out some type of report some years ago. They actually admitted, they said not all conspiracies are conspiracy. I said, oh, I read through the whole report. They have to give you an out. They have to tell you some truth, despite the fact they've been compromised. Just saying, they tell you, very interesting. If you read, remember you guys, they put that out publicly some years ago, and the FBI did that report, and they said some conspiracies are true, are factual. Interesting. So just keep in mind, once again, Jerry Sandusky. Remember who he was at Penn State. Remember, that was all in the mainstream media. They were forced to report on that when that went very public. And there was other people, other names that came out with coaches and stuff at other schools. That one guy had died, had passed away, because that was going on for a long time. That was a massive cover-up. Then you had Jeffrey Epstein once again, Ghislaine Maxwell, Harvey Weinstein. And there's others out there. I named the guy that used to be in the Subway commercials, by the way. What's that guy that actor in the entertainment industry was married to that young girl? Was it Woody Allen? Remember the situation from him? I even hear some people, a couple people out there, they still cover it up. They keeping it under wraps, or keeping it hush hush. So it's just something to think about when they always, the mainstream media tries to discredit something and say, oh, that's just the QAnon conspiracy theory. Okay, if that's the case, you guys look up who David Seaman is. Look up what he used to be a writer for the Huffington Post. Look up David Seaman. His Wikipedia, they'll try to say the guy behind the Pizzagate conspiracy, but read his Wikipedia profile and compare that to what the mainstream media tries to say it's a QAnon conspiracy theory. So I can just debunk what the mainstream media is lying to you about. You look up David Seaman, he's still around. I think look up Fulcrum News is his website. It's called Fulcrum News. I don't work for him. I've never met him, but I was along with other YouTubers and journalists out there that discovered during this time period, approximately around 2016. By the way, that's when that was going viral. I remember even young Pharaoh had went to a protest where they were talking about this, and he even reported on it when his channel was big before he got censored by YouTube. Young Pharaoh, who was connected to the Black Conscious movement, he used to talk about this, and his channel was real big. And I saw he went to different protests and networked with different people, and they shut him down. By the way, so folks, this stuff is real. There's been a lot of people out there who've been exposing this stuff, and yeah. So just keep in mind, I just wanted to kind of do a video and let you guys know where I've been, why I haven't done a video in a while. But I wanted to let you all know I'm still here. I did want to plan on doing a video on my other channel, and maybe the other topic I can go, I'll cover or give my thoughts with the P. Diddy situation. But a lot of stuff is coming out. They reported on this past November. They said it was going to potentially turn into a criminal case, that not just civil, because the civil, you read the court docket, the allegations, and they said it will be other lawsuits followed the Cassie suit. And that's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. So I don't know. Some people just are brand new, but in case you don't know, I already knew from following Tisa Tales. I mean, she been keeping her foot on Diddy's neck with these videos, dropping game, heavy stuff. But we already knew, and she basically reported on it already. There was an investigation going on for a long time, and then there's documentaries. If you watch years ago, back in the 90s, during that era, with the beef situation was going on. So you think they didn't have their eyes on Diddy back then? And Professor Griff, who I have his book, talked about the hip hop police, or the undercover, the informants that you had in the music industry. Come on now. So they had their eyes on Diddy for a long time. But as DJ Academics reported on, the feds, the FBI, they can watch you for a very long time before they make their move, or they have enough evidence, or they get enough on you, and they closing in. So I say he's done. It's a wrap. It ain't no coming back from this. It's been be very interesting to see how things play out, because I hear allegedly everybody who was associated with him in those freak off parties, a lot of people they may be interviewing or hunting down. I even heard rumors allegedly that Beyonce and Jay-Z were separating their assets, because a lot of people were calling, saying that Jay-Z was next, by the way, and saying not so much Beyonce, but you know, they were friends close to Diddy. Remember they were at that billionaire brunch. He came to that Rock Nation brunch back in 2020. There's still footage of that, and you had a lot of people in their circle in this camp. I hear Mary J. Blige put out a statement, and a lot of these people trying to distance themselves from him. The rapper Lil Boosie saying it was pretty scary how he didn't see a lot of people speaking up on Diddy's behalf, but they were celebrating, cheering with them, you know, when they were having these different parties and brunches. But they're nowhere to be found. Some of them are quiet as a mouse. You don't hear about it, but pay attention to that. Pay attention to these people. They'll let you know what their true colors are. Some of these people I don't like. They be promoting the Democratic Party, promoting all this stuff. And look at them now. They quiet as a mouse, silent, will claim to be for women and for women, for against rape and sexual harassment and stuff, but they quiet as a mouse and was hanging with Diddy, rolling with him tough. And there's a lot of women involved, famous women. Just something to think about, but they quiet as a mouse. You know, it shows you people can be two-faced. When you're on top of the world, people rolling with you, then you fall to the bottom, boom, you by yourself. Very interesting. So I'm gonna get to the comments. I'm gonna read the comments. I thank you all for joining. Tony Benson Mahuka says aloha. Thank you for joining. Chi Vegas says peace, peace. Dorsey in chat, peace, Chi. Thank you for joining. Chi says gratitude, brother, for keeping it 100. Yes, appreciate you all. Well, that's my time. I just wanted to let you all know I'm still here. I may do a video on my other channel, by the way, but I just wanted to let you all know I'm still here. Covered a lot of information thus far, so stay abreast. Stay tuned. Until next time, real legends never die. They live in our hearts. The marathon will continue. Peace. I'm out.